Please don't ever do that again in my ear, dear Lord.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the How'd I Get Here podcast, the podcast for positivity, progression, and finding your own path. It's Mr. Brown, broke, and guapo, 10 toes down, big head up. I'm in 4K, not 1080p, because you know me. Baby, word.
Cosign.
Yeah, it's your boy Spence, King Aquarius, Mr. 20% Wealth Strategist, coming at you live from the Creative Campus, powered by Core Vision. We appreciate this beautiful space y'all let us borrow.
It's a safe space here.
It's a very safe space, and we got the lovely, beautiful, bashful baddie Ashley, our executive producer, on site.
So I had the other day I was thinking about Ashley, right? And I was like,
you was thinking about me?
Were your clothes on?
The better question is, where were my hands?
I'm gonna just.
She about to call HR. Don't move to him. He made the joke.
She is HR.
I am fucking HR, bitch. You'll be getting an email from me soon. Don't you worry.
I'm getting fired for my own shit.
She starts finding us.
All right, Title 9.
Oh,
where
man.
art thou?
So I was thinking about Ash, and I was like, yo, we could introduce her as like the first lady of the podcast, but she technically was not the first lady. There were a few ladies.
About that one.
But even that, there was even one that came before her.
Oh, so you got other bitches up in here, huh?
Well, here at the How'd I Get Here podcast, we do not refer to women as bitches unless Ash does.
I'm sorry. So I use like bitch and nigga as like very neutral terms.
What if you use them in the same context?
Bitch, nigga.
Still neutrality.
Yo.
Nah,
I'm sorry. I love women. Love them dearly.
But can we refer to Ash as the first lady? If
I'll rock with it. Why not?
she was our first lady.
Ooh.
The no square.
Too much going on.
Bro.
If y'all knew what happened behind scenes.
If only.
I can't wait till we get like a live studio and y'all just come fuck with us on a weekly basis. We need to just start doing that shit because y'all don't know.
I was just randomly thinking too, can we make like croc jibbies?
What?
The little jibbies you put on your crocs.
That's not what I heard. Okay.
You thought you wanted to make a dance called the Kine-Eye Joe or something.
No.
So Ash.
Yes, sir.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Hello everyone. I'll look at both cameras this time.
There's three of them.
Ooh, sorry. Hi.
That camera.
Right. It's me again, Ashley.
It's girl.
Ms.BBA.
What's happening?
Right. Do you want to go?
I just thought you was gonna say BBL. I was gonna be like,
there's no BBL here, baby. I go to the gym.
All natural.
Hello.
squat.
Just go to the gym, ladies, please. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I'm excited to be here again today.
Sensational.
Love being on the camera. Y'all see I got my merch on.
Okay.
Had to get right. But don't worry, you too can get right when we all have merch for you. Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure getting her from behind the camera on camera because if y'all don't know, Ashley gives us a lot of the gems and talking points throughout the conversation that gives us a full perspective of, you know, men, women, they, them, however you want to call it. So let's dive into it.
Come on,
I'm about to dive in.
Ooh,
That's another Trey Songz. Did we cancel Trey Songz?
Why?
Well,
Didn't he like pee and poop on a couple other women or something?
So
were they consenting adults?
I feel like even though consent is important, that's still gross.
Listen,
But I'm not kink shaming. I don't want to kink shame.
Maybe we ought to do an episode on that freaky shit.
Have you seen Not Another Teen
Can
Movie?
we do an episode on freaky shit?
Listen,
I mean, we
10
could.
freaky
Is we gonna have a freaky expert?
Nah, we actually need to find like a sex
therapist.
Let's Google sex therapy. Put
Calling
it down.
all sex therapists.
Do it in incognito mode so you don't get a bunch of weird pop-ups moving forward.
Don't worry, I got my ad blocks on.
There you go. All right. So let's dive into
Snow White.
I knew he was gonna do that.
let's dive into the question. All right. So, is laziness synonymous with stupidity?
Is laziness synonymous with stupidity? No.
I feel like they tried to match the pair. Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like you might make stupid actions out of you might make stupid decisions or do stupid things out of laziness. So I guess because synonymous is like they are one with the other, correct?
It's hard to have one without the other.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like one could lead to the other. One could be like a cause and effect, but you could also have one without the other.
Can you have laziness without stupidity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think being lazy is stupid.
See,
It might be viewed as a stupid choice because at the end of the day, like if you're not out there like grinding and getting it, things are not just gonna like fall in your lap.
Yeah. So I looked up laziness and stupidity because I was very curious about
Go
this.
ahead.
So
Dictionary.
stupidity, behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment. Laziness, the quality of being unwilling to work or use energy. Idleness.
right. So to me, like, because I just don't understand laziness, right? Like a person that says like, hey, I want to lose weight, but doesn't want to like put forth the effort. Hey, I want to start this podcast, but hasn't started. Like on and on and on and on and on, right? It's like certain shit, especially because my life has always been like go get her, go get her.
Go get her.
I knew you was gonna say that, not her. Whoa.
Somebody go get her.
She's dancing like a stripper. Hey. But it's like, yeah, that part of it I don't understand, but it's to me when you say stupidity, it's like, nah, that was just dumb. Why would you do that? How did you know what I mean?
Behavior that shows lack of good sense or judgment.
How
It's
did
stupid.
you get
Right.
there?
So it's like you being lazy, that's just
Stupid.
it is stupid, but you never just didn't want to get out of bed. Never, like, we've all had a lazy day.
Is that being lazy or are you just tired?
Yeah, like there's power in rest and recovery, and I'm learning this on a daily basis.
I was gonna say, are you? Listen to your own words, kind sir.
So yeah, I think like you have to give yourself grace when you know you've been hustling, but I also think people who are go-getters, when they feel quote unquote lazy, is still like 10 times more than a lazy person. Like
My thing,
I feel like that's being subjective.
speak on it. That's what you here for.
Because I feel like if what one person views as being lazy or them viewing a person as being lazy, that individual themselves may not view themselves as being lazy. To
Like-
them, they might think, well, I'm doing the best I can. This is what I have to offer.
and you might sit there and be like, oh, all you did was play video games today. That's lazy. But in reality, like, that's what made that person happy or fulfilled. Whereas like for you, it's, going to the office, working out, reading a book, doing math, tic-tac-toe, you know what I mean? But like,
Tic-tac.
I
but
did say that.
but for another person, it's like, no, I wanted to sit here and play Call of Duty for 4 hours.
So all right, so you're a soccer coach.
I am. Yo, book me if y'all need
Right.
to get
Hire
better.
him.
Yeah, I
Facts.
do this.
What's the name of your business? Shameless plug.
Bigger than goals, because it's bigger than the goal. You heard?
So during a practice or even during a game, can you tell when a player is being lazy?
Yes, but that's different because you are there to work. Like,
Nigga, I mean, my I just messed up that whole clip. So my thing is like that is what life is too. Like you are here to work. Like you are here to make something of yourself, to be the best version of yourself.
but all the time,
Yeah. Why not? What else do you have to do?
like, you don't have to be 100 miles an hour 100% of the time.
No, but you should be striving towards being the best version of yourself every day in all aspects.
Right, but then that's how you get burnt out. Because because if you're like, oh, I gotta do this, then I gotta do that, then I gotta do that. At what point? And yes, like your work should be fulfilling and rewarding towards you. At what point is like, my nigga, like, I actually don't want to do this right now. That doesn't make you lazy.
But there's a difference between doing this right now and I just don't want to do this. It's like dishes. It's like, I know they need to get done. Do I want to do them right now, or am I going to quote unquote do them later? Like procrastination could be viewed as laziness, but there's studies that show that procrastination is actually better for a lot of people. So like the people that you went to school with, who they're like always striving to get like straight A's, they want to be like valedictorian, all that stuff like that. They always do their work first because they have a bunch of other things to do, where it's been shown that the kids who procrastinate, they give their subconscious more time to develop the idea and they actually formulate their thoughts better.
I'm going to wash the dishes in this way instead of that way. I'm going to put the soap that way and then spell my name with the shit. Like,
that's a waste of soap.
Oh, man. Nah. I don't know. I think because laziness is something that genuinely pisses me off.
Yeah, it's a pet peeve.
Like I don't understand it, but I do think that there are times that like, nah, you just stupid. You know what I mean?
Stupid.
Yeah.
Never gonna give you the chance, stupid.
This is true.
No, go ahead.
Nah, I can't. I don't.
I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
No, I didn't say nothing.
Literally.
No. Yeah.
Bruh. Go ahead.
I was gonna segue into our topic, but I gotta tell this story. So the other day when I was in Tampa, right, we were walking through this park, and this guy stops me, Nell, and Kev, and he goes, you know, guys, there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. Like, you know, I think there's power in prayer, and I just want to bring everyone together and just say a prayer, right? And as I'm looking at this guy speak, I could see Nell, right? And Nell's just turning his head. And I'm like, what is this nigga gonna say? Because whatever he says, I need to follow, right? And I'm like, if he runs, I gotta run.
Yeah.
So I'm just like preparing for the worst. So he goes, solo español, right? And then I go, a mí también. And then Kev, the only person that don't speak no Spanish, goes, And we just walked. The dude was just like, what? And then we walked away, and I'm sure he heard us laughing.
Yeah.
But it was just like, Kev, what the fuck did you just say, bro? He was like, he said, I forgot what he said, but it was like, nah, bro, you just mumbled some shit. Like,
I mean, it was perfect though, because the guy was confused and y'all got away.
yeah, I wasn't taking no prayer from him.
He was on par.
Yeah. So watch how I segue this.
Whoa.
Nay. So that was deflecting, right? We deflected that man's prayer. What the?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So deflecting is definitely a defense mechanism. Agree, disagree? Yay, nay? What do you think?
It can be.
Well, yeah. I think by definition, like to deflect, even if it's
right. Even if it's fighting.
Yeah, like swords and shit. I just thought of medieval time.
Yes. So it's definitely a.
I think of a lightsaber. Womp, womp.
Ooh.
We should get a lightsaber noise sound effect. So deflecting by definition, like you said, is a defense mechanism, right? And certain types of defense mechanisms we develop probably from an early stage, either consciously or subconsciously, right? And today we're going to be talking about childhood trauma. And I think it's interesting to maybe start with like deflecting on did we start that as like children as an early like defense mechanism? Why do we deflect so much? Do you guys deflect? I know I just asked like 3 different questions, but so to kind of go back to your first question about
where we're learning that from. I think as young children, we do end up deflecting, just from studies and cases showing that your brain, because you have like your short-term memory and your long-term memory, and sometimes with like trauma and those things get buried away in your long-term memory, but they get so buried away that you almost force yourself to forget that it ever happened, which I think is more of like a solidified deflection of not even wanting to bring it up, and you just kind of keep moving through life because you just totally forgot that it happened until maybe way years later something happens and that triggers you, and you're just like taken aback and you don't even know why you're triggered, and that's because your brain told you not to think about it anymore till right now when you got triggered.
Word.
Do I deflect? I have in the past a lot. Now I would say sometimes I do. Other times I will just openly say, like, I don't want to talk about this right now, which I guess could be viewed as a deflection.
Right.
But I think sometimes when people deflect, they don't bring awareness to what they're deflecting.
Right. And I was going to say, for you to just be like, I don't want to talk about this right now, I think that's...
Yeah.
I somewhat think it's deflecting, but I also think it's you shedding light and kind of just being like, nah, like, I'm not just going to shut you down. I'm just saying. So I don't think that's as much as me deflecting, maybe like answering a question with a question or changing a topic, right, or, giving a smart ass response that might take the conversation over here,
Yeah.
I think boundaries are important when it comes to deflection, because there's certain... I deflect a lot.
Sure do.
Really?
Real good at it. I'm great at it. So it's one of those things, if I just don't... I don't owe anyone any type of explanation or any if you have a question for me or a conversation that you want to have, I don't owe you the right to have that convo.
Okay.
Hold on.
Interesting.
Okay. Are you going to lose yours?
No, I'm going to write it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to unpack that.
So I also think that stems from childhood trauma, because I think especially in Black households, it's very much so I said what I said when it comes to your parents. It's like, well, why? Because I said so. Bro, that used to irk the living shit out of me. Like, what do you mean? Like...
Because they think that you're challenging their authority, and they think that you're trying to,
just want to know.
Undermine.
Bruh, because I know you don't have a good reason, like...
Oh, no, you was just a challenging
My
motherfucker.
reason, I said so.
For me, it was just like, I just need to rationalize. Like, I need to put two and two together, and the fact that you said so is not a good enough reason. Granted, like, you're the adult. Whatever you say is obviously going to go, but at least make it make sense to me, especially as I get older.
Right. I think, though, too, parents, at least like our parents now, looking back and like working with kids now, I think our parents definitely fail to understand that sometimes justifying and giving an explanation wasn't going to do anything besides just firmly saying like, no, I said so. But even like when I talk to like my clients, most of them are 5 years old, I talk to them like in a normal tone, how I would talk to anyone else, but I also explain why I'm saying no to something or why I'm not, and they understand. So I think sometimes our parents may have felt like we weren't going to fully understand why they were saying no, or like just shortening by saying it because I said so and keeping it pushing.
A conversation to go a long way, but a conversation isn't always necessary. And I say that because many times, like, you are not going to understand where I'm coming from. As much as I might want you to empathize, you might not understand or accept what I'm telling you. Or two, like, we can just agree to disagree. And no matter what I say, we're not going to get on the same page. And Spencer said something very, very important. And it was interesting because it ties into why I deflect to this day, right? So partially I deflect because I just don't want to engage in a conversation, maybe to save my peace. You get what I'm saying? Because like, one, like I just said, we're just not going to agree, or you're just not going to understand me. And quite frankly, I don't give a fuck to understand you, or I know that like we've already had this conversation, feel me? So instead of going down that road,
Yeah.
right? I'm just like, bro, we just don't need to have this conversation.
But is that deflecting, or is that you just shutting down the conversation?
Well, I think how I do it might be the deflecting, right? But now, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day because I was explaining, like,
Say their name.
people,
I'm joking.
people like show you who they are. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? Fool me 3 times, fuck the peace sign, load the chopper legend. Right? But
That's my job.
right? But my thing is, like, once you've shown me who you are, you've shown your ass, right? So I don't feel like I owe you a conversation, like Spencer said, right? Is that an egotistical statement that I don't owe you a conversation?
No, because you don't owe me a conversation.
Why not?
Because it's like if you talk to people who've been, I not mean to laugh, I'm sorry. When you talk to people who've been through therapy, a lot of times their therapist is like, you don't owe them this. You need to walk away. You need to do this. You need to cut them off cold turkey. And I think, again, I'm not a licensed clinician or like a therapist, mental health therapist, but I think it's because left to people's own devices, if they were capable of weaning off of things, they would. Whereas like a lot of times you just need to quit things cold turkey and then move on with your life. Whereas I think millennials, because we were brought up on like group projects and like Ubuntu shit, like I am because we are. You've heard this before?
You said that before, and I said, bless you.
Yeah. So
God bless. I can't.
this nigga different. So I think we more so need, or we want, like that closure, which I think is a mature way of going about things, like having closure, having that maybe that last dance or that final whatever conversation to like end things and move on. But,
What does closure really do for you?
I was gonna say, can we talk about closure real quick?
ooh, yeah, go ahead. Okay, yeah. Because I'm not one who needs closure, but I get it.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I think sometimes wanting closure is setting yourself up to still not fully heal from a situation, because I think sometimes we may not always get the closure that we want, which is okay, because at the end of the day, like, we still have to find it within ourselves to like move away from that situation and move forward. So sometimes closure may not always be needed, but also sometimes we're not going to get the closure that we want.
Okay, so I'm gonna dissect that. What exactly is closure? Define it.
I think closure, I would say society views closure as being whatever final conversation or whatever, just like a defined end, whatever that end is or how it looks like, but it's like getting to a definite ending of this is no more. We are not doing this. We are going our separate ways. I'm detaching myself from this situation or this environment. Like, no more.
Okay.
No más.
There's a couple different definitions. I'm going to skip to the first and the third one. So, an act or process of closing something, especially an institution, thoroughfare, or frontier, or being closed. I didn't really like that one. But the third one, a sense of resolution or conclusion at the end of an artistic work.
So
Relationships are art.
life is art.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Right? And I'm thinking, like, as we're talking about closure, right? I'm thinking of like certain situations that some might say like, yo, Jake, you need closure with that, right? To fully get past it, right? But my thing is like my mom's ex-husband, right? Couldn't care less about the guy. If he...
You're talking about your dad.
No. The second one.
Damn.
No, my dad, that's my guy.
Word.
Mom's ex-husband, right? This might...
the Eagles fan.
Yeah, like, y'all, exactly. Y'all know how and like, it's like, bro, like, get over it. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to hate the Eagles and the Knicks, right? But it's like, would closure really help me move past that? Or am I past it? It's just a hatred that is, like, embedded at me that's like, nah, nigga, like, it's curtains for you. You know what I mean?
See, you are very. I wish I had a better phrase because I always say you're an emotional person, but you're a very like maybe caring person, and caring people typically hold on to things for dear life because they care for things. Whereas like I don't know, it's just like so who the fuck cares? You know, like
So would closure help? Like you're saying,
help you?
Well, I'm just more speaking in general for a person that is very caring, right? Because you're saying because I am caring by nature, I'm holding on to whatever those feelings, that animosity, that yada yada yada, whatever, right? If I had that closure, would I then be able to just be like, all right, spread your wings and
I think your closure. Well, I think a closure that what people need is really internally because, closure. Mike Tyson said,
yum 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 yum, because of the ear.
That's crazy.
I've never heard anyone do that after saying
after
his
yum,
name.
yum, yum, yum.
Right.
I thought you want to fuck like this.
I would like that was the go-to. But
Yum, yum, yum.
no. So Mike Tyson was
Did
saying
he
this.
swallow the ear?
No, I think
Nah,
he
spit it
just,
out.
spit it out.
Yeah.
I would hope not. That would.
He said to Saquon Barkley in a
Hotboxing podcast.
something like that in a podcast.
Yeah, it's hotboxing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about is like, yeah, like when you allow someone to like when you hate somebody or hate something, like he's now the master of you because he's like gotten over on you. Like he's a master of those emotions towards them.
Yep, I believe in that.
So I think internal closure is kind of just like, you know, like how you said, like, yo, I'm the table. So it's like, yo, it's your loss.
Facts.
Like, you know, if you don't want to be in my life for whatever reason, like, I bet I got plenty of people who do. And I'm really not missing out on anything. Unless, never mind.
Ooh.
I was going to say something
I feel that because I feel
nasty.
wow. I can resonate with that because I think especially like most recently in my life, I've had people say like, oh, like you just love like cutting people off.
Ain't nothing cut that bitch off. That's what I'm saying.
And the thing is like, I don't necessarily fully just like drop cut people off. I think like over time I've realized that I've just put more energy and time into someone, and I realized like if they're not going to do the same for me, then I won't necessarily cut them off. But there has been times where I've fully just like detached myself and cut them off to save my peace. And I think I within myself found that internal closure to just say like, okay, like I can't keep doing this.
So where does forgiveness and acceptance play into like childhood trauma and closure?
You can forgive, but you never forget.
Forgiveness and acceptance.
Well, here's my thing about that.
You ain't shit.
Like you could forgive, but you never forget, right? So if you never forget, are you kind of still holding on to that and then return not really forgiving?
I think it's when people show me what they're capable of, I'll never forget that. Good, bad, ugly, like you just showed me what you're capable of.
And that's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like you've showed me your ass, right? And it's like
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
got a birthmark in the middle.
It's a little flat for me.
But it's like it's one of those things, and it's like I'm not that to say that I'm better than anyone or I don't
Right.
fuck up, right? But it's like when you fucked up, did you own up to it? You know what I mean? Like especially at 30 years old, I think Brian Ash might be like the youngest friends in my life. You know what I mean? Aww. So at around like 28 and up, I don't got to keep teaching you about life and yourself. You know what I mean? Like we're growing, and maybe that's ego, but it's like, bro, you fucked up. Like I don't have time to slow down and be like, hey man, you didn't, you know.
And you know what I'm realizing in regards to like teaching people and like having to slow down? I only want people around me who are impressive. Like I only want impressive, dope people.
See, but that's subjective. Because what impresses you might not impress me, and you are a person of value. We've already established that if you cannot get value from somebody, they are like
make the cut.
No. So the thing about
you
me,
are the weakest link.
goodbye. So one thing about me is that I'm very good at observing people's strengths, right? I can see what people are good at, and I can also like view like where you can bring things. And yeah, it could be subjective, but I'm very objective about it because I just want to see like, you know, what's impressive about you. Like it could be anything. It could be the way you talk. It could be the way you walk. Like when you said my dad walked in the fucking live podcast, he's like, yo, that's a smooth ass walk.
Smooth motherfucker.
Yeah.
I thought he was Shaft.
Probably was once upon a time.
Not once upon a time.
Yeah, so I just think what's impressive to me is someone who's working on themselves and is working towards a master level. Like I think it's extremely impressive that you played professional soccer. Not many people can say that. It's impressive that Ash was a professional musician that a lot of people don't know about at one point in time.
I didn't know that.
Even Brian.
What you don't know about me? I'm like a Pandora's box, baby.
I thought she was gonna say a panda bear. I was gonna be
Panda.
well, Ash, why don't we like spend more time together and get to know each other?
Because you like to travel.
Look at How'd I Get Here podcast bringing relationships
You can't
together.
come?
Whoa.
You've never invited me.
Oh, good point. You be working.
I mean, I if it's a little weekend trip, I can make it happen. I only got but so much PTO.
Oh, how'd I get here? Weekend. What's the word I'm looking for?
Extravaganza?
No. Weekend, not escape. Weekend escape.
Weekend
Like
with us.
Weekend staycation.
Shout out.
Yeah,
Nacho.
bro, we should like go like
To a
get
cabin.
an Airbnb in a cabin and then go tubing and then like record it all and like it could be like a docuseries.
Little cuteness.
I think that would be fire.
And
That
so
could.
back to what I was saying, Brian's
I was
impressiveness
gonna
comes
say,
into
like-
play because none of us could shoot that shit the way Brian can shoot it.
Love you, Brad.
I don't know if I want to be trapped away in a cabin with y'all for a weekend.
I was gonna say Spencer might not do well with that because he's
Turning the fucking Hulk.
No, it just sounds like he'll be like feeling like a cat that's entrapped and can't get out, and then he's gonna like spaz.
Like I might just like sleep outside in the snow just for autonomy.
All right, fuck you too, nigga.
Great. We'll be inside warm, dumbass.
Hello,
That was
partying
stupid and
up.
lazy.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
Look at that bozo.
What is lazy about that?
Because you decide to fucking sleep in some snow than a warm bed. Yeah,
That's lazy?
That is being very lazy.
Could just walk your ass inside. All right, question.
I wanted to talk about one thing though when it came to forgive.
Go on,
and
baby gal.
forgiveness.
Go on.
I think sometimes we forget to like forgiveness is not about forgiving that person that's harmed you or done you wrong. It's about forgiving yourself. Like I have forgiven myself with my childhood trauma of knowing that like it wasn't my fault and that
White man.
yo and just knowing like it happened but it's not who I am. Like I have not become a product of that, and all of those things that were said to me and that were done to me, like it doesn't change who I am today. Y'all talking shit?
No.
Let me go in this chat. If y'all are talking shit,
You said you forgave yourself for knowing, so Spencer made a jokey joke.
I cannot.
All right.
That's out of my control there.
So is there things that you guys may have done or like traits that may have formed as kids that you guys still do today in a result of childhood trauma?
I'm not yes, but like it's so funny. We just had this conversation. I was just talking to my boy about this and it blew my mind, and I hope I'm gonna send him this clip because he needs to see this. Yo, my boy formulated a lifelong lesson for himself at the age of 5. So I forgot where he was. He was at like maybe the Bronx Zoo or some shit, right?
I love the Bronx
That was his
Zoo.
first mistake.
You don't like the Bronx Zoo?
He was in the Bronx.
Well, I know that, but I was like, what the Bronx Zoo got to do with that?
I don't understand the hype with zoos.
Well,
Me
okay.
either.
Yes, they are imprisonments of animals.
I don't even care about that part.
Damn, you said fuck the animals. So fuck.
Because we have, like, most people have pets. That's imprisonment of animals, but it's mostly like
I let SJ stay outside sometimes.
That's child. That's a
child
fucking
abuse.
yeah.
No, it's not.
Animal.
She's feral.
Will.
Feral.
Hey, yo.
Will.
No,
Oh.
she a wild animal.
So Spencer's friend was climbing
Yeah.
at the zoo.
Yeah, so he's at the Bronx Zoo, right? And they got, I don't know, he said he got like a loaded hot dog, and he was upset because the shit was falling apart and it became messy. And his mom talked to me like, well, you know, like, you just got to put it together, eat it, whatever. And he's like, in that point in time, I realized sometimes food just gets messy. And like, I just accept it for what it is. Whereas like, I hate messy food. I cannot stand eating like,
Wow,
I will hold some.
Loaded nachos.
that's a
I don't-
very like intellectual child at 5 to say like.
Can't say
know what?
you met young Sheldon.
Right, that sounds like a young Sheldon
I
moment.
just he's like, you know what, I'm just, you know, sometimes food's gonna be messy. Whereas like, yeah, no, like loaded nachos, I understand, but like sloppy joes, like there is no sloppy joe on my plate.
There's no sloppy Joe.
Yeah, I was like,
There's no sloppy Joe.
Strong.
I was like, where are we pointing?
At the meat.
Yo, How'd I Get Here podcast should not record after 8 p.m. That to me, that's like, so y'all think that's intellectual?
Yes, because I think looking at sometimes food is just messy. That's a great way to look at life. Sometimes life is just messy, and you have to take it for what it is, and like you just get through it.
But at our big age, let's assume he's all around the same age.
Y'all are old.
The same
though.
age as
I
like
ain't
Jacob
that
and I,
old.
right? But even still, even at your age, right? From 5 until then, there's 20 plus years to also recalibrate and realize, sometimes food's messy, but it doesn't always have to be. Like there's also another like step to
No,
it.
that's also true. Like life and food don't always have to be messy, but I think how I
funner
kind
that
of
way.
it is.
I love a little mess.
And I view life like sometimes like you have your own agenda of how you want things to go, and then life is like, haha, bitch, here you go. Let me throw a monkey wrench, and then it becomes something else.
So that's one thing that I think I learned. Like while you guys were talking, I was trying to think like, what's the one thing?
Your childhood trauma.
Yeah, that has taught me, bro. That's life trauma. But we about to turn it around. Gang green.
Not
We going to
life
the Super
trauma.
Bowl in the next 2 years. Fuck it. You heard it here first on the How'd I Get Here podcast.
If y'all go to the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, I'll buy the ticket.
Ooh,
you do realize that we're about to sign Aaron Rodgers, right?
So? When's the last time he went to the Super Bowl?
Bro, we have a top 5 defense, the offensive rookie of the year last year, and we would have had the second place if the dude ain't tear his ACL.
Yeah, there's some things that you have to realize about like NFL teams. Like there's a reason why the Browns, the Jets, I can't think of any other teams. It's not just so much the players, it's the office. Like
No, but I'm big on that because the Jets front office has been terrible until last year.
okay.
Yeah. Like last year was the first draft we got right in ever. So
Y'all like the Knicks.
yeah, bro. So trust. In the next 2 years, we're going to the Super Bowl.
Hey, shit, we going to the Super Bowl.
Fuck it. By then, this podcast will have blown, and we'll be getting tickets to the Super
We
Bowl.
gonna be recording at the Super Bowl. Shout out Rihanna.
So
yo, get my wife's name out your mouth.
I'll try to put it in my.
okay, talk about
Alright.
trauma. So what I was thinking was like, shit, like, and as I'm even thinking of this statement, shit always kind of went wrong. You know what I mean? But
For what?
in life, like as a kid all the way up, right? Damn. But it always got figured out. You get what I'm saying? And like,
Solutions.
right. And like one way or another, like I was always, yeah, I had family and I had my siblings and stuff, but I was also kind of just like on my own, for lack of better terms. You know what I mean? Like when I was going to soccer practice, yeah, my dad was there, but it's not like me, my brother and sister were going to the park and practicing or whatever the case was. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of just like me going with my dad, dribbling through cones, or going to team practice.
Would that make you feel better though, doing it with your siblings?
No, but I was just there by myself. You get what I'm saying? Like occasionally there were friends that would come and we would go as a group, but it was one of those things like, oh, we would lose this game, or we had to move from West Hartford to Bloomfield, or my mom's relationship ended here. You know what I mean? Like something was always going wrong. My parents were arguing. You know what I mean? That kind of trauma, but it always figured itself out. Me in college, right? High school, I was dating this girl. Junior year, we broke up. I was like, I don't know where I'm going to school, but I know I'm getting out of Connecticut, right? All the way through junior year, senior year, I didn't know where I was going. Eventually, it just worked out. You get what I'm saying? Go to Buffalo. I know nobody. It just worked out. You know what I mean?
So was life going wrong, or was life just happening? And
maybe that's what it was. Life was just, well, along the way there were bad things that happened. You hear what I'm saying?
So that's why, because I think trauma is all about perspective. So like, was there actual like bad things, like were things going wrong, or was it more so?
I mean, I would think my mom getting cheated on is kind of bad.
I don't want to state my.
They shooting.
Not grandma's cookies.
Aunties.
Should we check that?
No, it's probably a ghost or a robber. And I'm not going. You light skinned nigga, you go first.
That's crazy.
But you get what I'm like. To me, that is some. Did that have to happen in the grand scheme of things? Yes, right. But to me,
so life was life, and I don't know if it was bad or going wrong. But I think as a kid, you have no control over anything, so you're just like, to you.
But you hold on to those moments.
Apparently, like,
well, you don't.
There's some moments that have shaped me for the better, because like I don't like not having control of things.
But that's that in itself is not realistic. Like life, there are certain things you can control in life, and there's other things where life is like, no, like I'm in control of this. Like you cannot control any of this.
Of course, yeah. That's why people believe in religion. Because they have to believe in something bigger than themselves. Because they need to have faith that life and something's going to figure it out, because they don't think that they can. Life is going to life regardless. Like, the only constant in life is change.
And that's the thing. You're still going to hold on to those things, whether it's formed you or not, right? You have held on to that thing, whether it was good, bad, or whatever. You have held on to it because it has changed you. It is. It's now a part of you. That occurrence is a part of who you are. Whether you're physically
holding on to it or not, it's still like being embedded. I know he is, and I understand what you're saying, because I see it daily. Like when I've worked with kids and like looking at just how I've worked with kids from birth to 3, literally from birth to 5 is the most like prime years of a child's life. So like if so much trauma and so many things, both good or bad, and happening in a child's life between those first 5 years of life, that all of that is taken in, even if they're holding on to it or not, subconsciously or consciously. That's going to shape how they become and how they develop for the rest of those years and continues moving forward. So like, I think you're thinking of like, are we physically holding on to that versus like it's just happening?
He's thinking like, I just dealt with it and I moved on with it and I let it go. But that lesson is still with you, no?
The lesson is with you, but like I'm not holding on to it. I mean, like once you get past that stage where like kids have the intellectual capacity to reflect and think back on these things that did shape like who they are at this point in time, like I don't think you're holding on to it. I think you're just acknowledging it. Like, hey, when I was 8, this happened, it sucks, but now I've learned what I don't want to do when I grow up. I don't think I'm holding on to it.
But I don't think you're holding on to it as much as it is just a part of you.
For sure. It's part of my
maybe,
life.
Right. Maybe that is a better way to articulate. It is that trauma is now, and that's not to say it's a bad thing, because you may have taken a negative and turned it into a positive. This is now why I don't do this, or this is now why I do that, or this is why, you know what I mean? And I think that is an important thing of childhood trauma, is understanding the why. You know what I mean? Why am I the way that I am? And to whatever capacity, why do I do this? Why does this set me off? You know what I mean? Ashley brought up triggers earlier.
I think the how might be more important when you think back.
How did it happen?
Like, how did I respond to that? How did I observe my parents respond to that? How did this shape and affect my life at this point in time when I had no control over anything else? And how am I going to make sure this either doesn't happen in the future, or how am I going to replicate it in a way that's going to be beneficial to my future?
So I think the how and the why are synonymous.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You think so?
Yeah, and I can talk about that too, because in 2019, like, I hit like a very like bad patch in my life where I had to figure out a lot of shit, because all of my traumas were coming out and I wasn't really fully aware of how I was behaving because of those traumas.
Hurt people.
Yes, and that was what I was doing. I was a hurt person hurting other people. Hurting people that were like friends, hurting people that I were like getting involved with. And so, like, I had to really sit with myself and unpack a lot of, well, why was I doing this? Why was this happening? How did I get to end up doing those things? So I think for me, like, I had to understand the how, because I would always then, on my defense, I'll be like, well, this always keeps ending up the same way. And I'm always sitting here like, how'd I get here? Like, why am I ending up in this same situation all the time or having the same result? But I think it was also really like fully understanding that why, which was the fact of the matter. Like, I just had a lot of trauma from my childhood, from my father.
Yeah. Sometimes it actually irks me when I do things that I observed as a kid. Like, I observed my parents do as a kid, and like I do it in my 30s. And I'm just like, this isn't even like my character trait. like I don't have, up until this point, now that I'm acknowledging it, I had no recollection or like reason for doing this other than I observed you do this and now I do it. Like, I noticed that with iced coffee. Like Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee. I think every time we got into the car as a kid when I go to baseball, my dad always had an iced coffee.
I think it's interesting when you look at your parents, when you realize what you took from each parent and how similar and how different you really are. You know, like my dad, right? You've met my dad, and you've probably never noticed it. He can never actually look someone in the eye when he's talking to him.
No, I noticed. Yeah, he looks off.
Right, and it's funny
That's
because
like
I was looking up while we were sitting here talking, right? And one of the 7 signs of childhood trauma was trouble making eye contact. That's literally the first one.
Well,
Really?
Yeah.
I hate making eye contact.
But me, as much as I like to talk, sometimes I find myself doing it, and I don't know if I'm doing it because I'm thinking about him or because it's like,
And just like, is it something I like to do?
you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sit here for a whole hour and stare at you like this, and now it's fucking weird. You know?
I just feel like looking at somebody in their eyes when you're talking to them just is
It's
like,
a power move.
it's uncomfortable.
No, that's why it's a power move.
I like making
we
people
know
uncomfortable.
you like to look at people in their soul.
Yeah, because it's like you just learn if you're having a conversation with when you're a man pursuing a woman and you first
Can't
meet her, when you're a person,
when you were there.
I can only speak as a man's perspective. When you're a man pursuing a woman, you approach her, you
look them dead in their eyes.
dead in their eyes, firm
wow.
handshake. Hi, my name's Spencer. What's your name? Or like, if
I would
back in
be
the day,
afraid to
I
be a
used to say
woman
huggy.
getting a handshake from you.
Nah, because you feel it and you like, ooh, this thing big.
Bro, you have
strong.
you have are we still talking about your hand?
Big and strong.
Yes, because it's very you set the tone for a very demanding, confident presence when you look somebody dead in the eye.
Okay.
And like when you have that conversation the entire time, it's like I'm actually paying attention to because I'm looking you right here. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at anything else. Like, I'm looking at everything you're doing. And then I like
interesting, because I feel like not only that aspect is important, but I think also too, like, I guess they do say too about how the fact of you making eye contact when you're in a conversation with someone, that's also showing how you're engaged. Whether it's the eye contact, you kind of, you're just like, like I see, or like you're asking kind of back and forth questions to show like you're understanding what they're saying, and then you're feeding into that by maybe raising another question or stuff like that.
Like Jay-Z said, look a man dead in the eyes so he knows you speak the truth when you speak it, or some shit like that. I don't know. It sounded appropriate. So let me read y'all a paraphrased quote, right?
Let me read you a passage from the
from the Hood Bible.
Jacob, verse 10:13
of the Hood Bible.
the nigalations.
The niggalation.
Oh nah, Lord. So your mind, like, in regards to childhood, right? If you can't remember the good times, it's because you were having a good time, right? Your mind only remembers the bad stuff because the bad stuff is what really sticks with you. You know what I mean? So when you're in a place and you're having fun and everything's good, you're in the moment and you don't really remember those times. You could remember being there, maybe point out a couple points, but if you really think back to your childhood, you could probably think back and say, oh nah, I remember this fucked up night that we bop that this happened. Agree, disagree?
I disagree.
I think so. I'm going to be on both sides because I always yep, I like to be right there in the middle.
Ain't shit changed. Sorry.
Wow, I'm in the middle right now.
Oh boy.
It's a polycule.
Damn.
What a throwback.
So for me, like, I used to look back and say, well, I do remember the good times and I also remember the bad times. But I think, like, I guess that makes sense. If you were enjoying that moment, then it may not be as fully easily to remember all of it because you're like just really engrossed,
Submerged.
Yeah, in that moment.
Submerged in it, yeah.
Versus other times you can kind of look back. You're like, wow, like I was really happy at that stage of my life.
Like, bro, there's nights, right, as a child that just like bad shit was happening, and I could legit tell you like everything about that night. Legit everything. And then it's funny because I was actually having this conversation with me, my sister, and my cousin's dad the other day, and I'm saying just popping shit off, and my sister's like, wait, that did happen. Like, now that you say it, I remember, but in the moment I didn't remember that. And my dad's cousin was basically saying like, yeah, that's because you were happy. You were like blocking that shit out, whereas Jacob was like, nah, this shit's traumatic. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's interesting how things like affect, especially when you have some siblings very close in age, and how like when you talk about your childhood, how sometimes like your experience is a different experience from like your other sibling, or how many there are of you, because it's like an outside person looking in, they're like, wow, that's so interesting because you all grew up in the same household.
Right.
So it's like, how is it then there's all these different perspectives and not more like similar,
synonymous,
yeah,
like,
more similar
this was all that.
Yeah, like, okay, well, like if your sister's saying like that was a fun time, why wasn't it also fun for you?
Right.
That's interesting. I think the only bad, like the first bad thing, quote unquote, that came to mind for me was a baseball game in the playoffs.
You played baseball?
Yeah, that was my shit. Since like the age of 2, like I thought I was living someone else's dream, but I thought I was gonna go pro.
Not someone else's dream.
But yeah, I remember because this is gonna sound horrible. So I was catching behind the plate, right? And I was a better pitcher than the guy who was pitching. So I go to my coach. I'm like, yo, can I pitch? Because like this is really bad right now. He's like, yeah. So they paused the game, switch everything out, and I was giving this dude some heat. Pause. And the dude just cranked one of my pitches to like deep left field, and we ended up losing the game. That's that's like the biggest traumatic thing as a kid that I remember, because I think I remember more of the good things than I do the bad things. Like, some of the bad things were just like, this fucking sucks. Like, moving from Manchester to Hartford and like leaving all my friends behind and making new friends in Hartford. But
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you talk about, and I'm obviously not going to tell you about your childhood and what you were fucking upset about and shit.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like,
I'm upset.
You saying like your brother's hitting you and being like, no, you can't cry. You know what I mean? Like, that stuck with you.
Yeah.
All these years later, you still tell
But I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, what I still like, no one has justified crying to me to this day.
Well, it's not even about crying. It's about feeling the emotions.
I feel emotions. Crying,
I don't know that you do.
I promise you I do. Like, every time you say I don't, I promise I do. I'm not as reactive as everyone else is to them, because it's just like,
For what? That's
yeah, like,
feeling-
yo, I will acknowledge, like, damn, I'm sad
the
right
feel?
now. Why am I sad right now? And then I break it down, and then I figure out everything that I need to do to be happy again. And if I'm sad, it's normally because one thing isn't going right, and it's probably something I need to reflect on internally that I can then turn around and make right, and now I'm good again.
Okay.
Yeah,
But do you see how like that's like a minor thing, but do
Yeah.
you see how like that small thing one has stuck with you and has shaped who you are today? Mm-hmm. And whether that's good, bad, that's perspective.
I also take a hit too.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, those small things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I have a hard time differentiating between good and bad. It's kind of like
Batman and Joker. Oh, I can't wait.
Batman and Joker.
Was the Joker bad?
Nah, but for real, was Joker a bad guy? He was just playing a game. Joker is literally just playing a game.
Killing people.
Okay.
So do you feel like
Batman used to beat he might as well killed them. Like, he used to
didn't,
beat
though.
the shit out of them.
But he
Out
didn't kill
of
them.
villains.
So it's good to beat villains up, but it's not good.
No, but like a robber, like, you're gonna stop him.
But
You're
it's
not
a person nonetheless. So because he beat the shit out of a robber, and the Joker just decides to kill people that you think is good based on what it looks like on paper, he's
So
wrong.
if we walk out of here and the Joker stabs you,
Yeah.
Joker's right.
For stabbing you?
Is he right?
Yes.
You.
I don't think there's right or wrong in that. It's unfortunate. Like, it fucking sucks. Ouch.
So let's just talk about the action itself. Mm-hmm. So
Just a little poke.
so the action of killing versus the action of almost beating someone to death. So do we think the action of actually killing someone, regardless if they are a good or bad person, is good or a bad action?
Ooh, it could be viewed as both, because one, it could be viewed as putting someone out of their misery, as we do with dogs who are in pain, that we don't want to live a harsh life in pain. Mm-hmm. Or there's one where Batman beats the shit out of you and you can't walk the rest of your life because you decide to rob somebody.
But you
Again,
also
though,
chose.
we're not talking about Batman or Joker. We're talking about just the actions themselves.
Oh.
Yes. I'm trying to like help separate. Like, I think because we're slapping the person to the action that now it's like, nah, they're fucked up for that. But it's like the action themselves.
So what's worse, killing someone or beating someone close to death?
Yes.
It really depends on.
He's gonna say what's worse is beating them almost to death, because now they're still alive and have to live with the shit. Whereas if you kill them, they're out of their misery and they don't really know what they didn't have.
Can you let Spencer?
I was gonna say that's not what I was gonna say. That was way too prepubescent. But
That's it.
like
I am calling me a pubic hair. That's crazy. You said you were around my bowels.
that's crazy.
Oh my god. How
I
did we get
guess
to that point.
there's a I think there's a lot of. I mean, it depends on who you ask. There's a lot of peace.
But I'm asking you.
I know. you're asking someone who doesn't care either way. So I know there's.
I'm gonna let you think about that.
Okay.
Let it marinate then.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there can be views that there's a lot of peace in death, because a lot of times when people die in a lot of cultures, it's views that they go to a better place, quote unquote.
But what are Spencer's views, though?
Spencer's views between beating someone half to death or just killing them?
Yes.
What's the reason? Or what's the reason behind it? Just cause?
I mean, I don't want to necessarily say it's just cause, but I guess if we're thinking of either Batman or Joker, I think some people viewed Joker's behavior as like a just cause, whereas like Batman, some people viewed his behavior as just cause, and other people viewed him as being a hero who was stopping.
He's a vigilante.
Yeah, they just felt like he was a vigilante.
Can I maybe change gears for a second?
I mean, that's fine. I also was going to talk about something else too, but
yeah, please do. I just want to state the only difference between an antagonist and a protagonist, because a lot of
letters.
Yes, a lot of times they have very similar backstories. It just it's really their response to pain.
I feel like an antagonist just like is jealous of the protagonist because that's who they want to be.
It's like, well, you turned your painful
Mm-hmm.
situation into a positive, whereas like I want to turn my painful situation into causing everyone else pain. I don't necessarily. I think both are necessary.
Okay. I think, to be honest, since we're talking about childhood trauma, there's probably trauma between both of those individuals, Batman and Joker, and that's why they both ended up the way that they did.
Yeah. Batman saw his parents get murdered,
right,
and didn't spend a lot of time with them, and then Joker was bullied because some other shit.
He had mental health issues.
Yeah,
he has some like neurological laugh.
So, question: how do you guys think the relationships that we saw our parents had as kids affect our relationships as adults?
Ooh, I love this question.
It's a great question. Who would like to answer first?
And I don't got my laptop today. Shoot it up.
How? So yeah, I mean, I've stated this before. Like, I watched two adults cohabitate in a house for 23 to 25 years, staying together because they thought that would be what was best for me. And I'm sure economics played into it, but I appreciate it because I've also been around others whose parents are very lovey-dovey, and they painted this false movie-like picture of them of like, oh, this is what love looks like, this is what this looks like, but they never showed the nitty-gritty shit that happened behind the scenes of like, now there's some days that I don't fucking like you, like I can't stand you, whereas like to them it's like, no, my parents have always been loved, I've never seen them argue, like my dad buys my mom flowers every week, like shit like that, like, so who cares? Whereas like now I have more of appreciation for the genuine relationships that I formulate in my life, because it's like, no, you're here because like I genuinely like you. I genuinely like
I want you around.
Yeah, like
Facts.
I fuck with you.
Heavy,
real bad, the long way.
This is gonna be like a long-winded answer, right?
Ooh.
But I think of my parents growing up, and I always like, people always ask like, yo, are your parents still together? And I'm like, nah, my parents hate each other, right? And they'll probably hear like, we don't hate each other. Well, y'all niggas don't like each other. So,
right, like, you mean I hate each other, but we definitely don't like each other.
You know what I mean? And like as kids, like my parents just did not get along. That's my memory. That's maybe my trauma, my whatever, right? So as a kid, I grew up knowing like, just because your parents are not together does not mean like they failed in their relationship or they failed as parents.
No.
You know what I mean? Because like they raised 3 healthy, successful kids. They did all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's it. They raised 3 kids. That's the only good thing my parents did together.
That's the Oscar of their parenthood shit.
You know what I mean?
I say because my parents only raised 1 out of 4.
My mama raised me. My dad did not contribute in any shape or form.
No,
Shame on it.
My parents raised them, but like I'm the shining star.
But so then I look at one of my homeboys whose parents divorced later on in life, right? And he now says like, damn, well, did their marriage fail? And I'm like, well, did they? Did it because like their kids they now have grandchildren. Their kids went to college. Their kids did this. Their kids did that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, when you get together, obviously you want to stay married forever, but like, what did you accomplish from that, right? And now in return of that, he feels, oh shit, like I need to get this right with my wife because I don't want to raise a kid in a broken home, or I don't want to do this. And it's like, your maybe adult/childhood trauma is like, bro, that's not a broken home. That's not a failed marriage. That's not a failed upbringing. You know what I mean? And because I saw it at a young age, it's like, well, maybe I could tell you how to co-parent healthily because I saw what an unhealthy co-parenting looked like as a kid. You know what I mean? And I also know that you can still be successful and have a healthy relationship and this, that, and the third as adults. You get what I don't know if I know I just shot out a lot.
You did. Oh, I'm not sure. Did you want to say something, Spencer?
No, because I have something to say, and then I kind of want to transition to like another question that relates to it.
Oh, okay. So I can unpack all of that because
I'm gonna tell you what the fuck's wrong with you.
oh no, I'm not gonna like do that. I just meant like unpack it as in just kind of dissect and talk more like in depth about like what you said, because you said a lot of great things.
Aww.
So I definitely think, yeah, you know, little hand hug. Bing. Sparkle. So I think society really thrives on trying to make it seem like getting a divorce means you failed and that you're like the worst for doing that. I think also too, at least I don't know if like your parents as well like believed in this, but I know like my family, especially like my grandmother, was always under this impression of like, oh, like, you know, if you get divorced, like people are going to talk about you and talk about your marriage and how much of like a failure it was. But it's like, why stay in something if you're not happy?
Right.
And like, why drag it out? And I think also too, like, I would have rathered my mom gotten divorced from my dad a long time ago than just like sticking it out. And I'm not sure like if it was because she might have felt like it would have been easier to stick it out for the sake of me, but I'm just like, I would have been all right. Actually, I think I would have been great because it's like dealing with all of that other stress that came with just all of the nonsense that I went through as a child. Like I felt like could have been avoided if we just kind of just left and continued life elsewhere. But I think there's just like the stigma of like, oh, well, if you didn't see it through or try to make it work, then like you failed, which I don't think that's the case at all, because I don't think I would want anyone to stay in something if they're not happy, or if they're not working out, because sometimes you do reach a point where things were great,
right?
Things are going great, and at some point things may not go great and you may not be able to bounce back from that, and that's okay. But again, too, like if children are involved, I think it's more important to make sure, you know, that you are being able to cohabitate and really parent those children together in a more conducive and loving environment. Because
kids are smarter than you think.
Yeah,
kids are sponges.
Way smarter than they think, and they pick up on things. So it's like, you know, I think it would be more successful if more parents and just like families did that, of figuring out a better way to address those issues and trying to say like, no, like we have to stay together for the children, and blah blah blah. And I don't think really, I know like there was something like Will Smith said like a while back about just like failure is just kind of learning another lesson. It's not deeming you as
fail
like,
forward, fail fast.
Yeah, like it's not going to make you deem as like unsuccessful or anything like that. It's just that, you know, we're all still learning. But I will say though, sometimes I think too, when children do become a part of the equation, I think it does become a little bit more challenging of feeling like
More pressure.
yeah, feeling like that pressure of, okay, well, now I, like, if it was just me, like, say we were married and it's just us, then if I'm like, I'm not happy in this situation.
Such a pretty couple.
Snow White. Snow White.
Yeah.
Buckshot.
That's crazy. That's what I was gonna say.
Y'all.
My bad. Backwards.
I think it's a lot easier when you don't feel like you have anything that's potentially like holding you back. So it's just like, if I'm gonna be like, listen, like, I don't really think this is working out. Maybe we should get a divorce and just go our separate ways. Versus it's like, dang, now we got to think of little Joelle, and little Ashley Jr. And how do we like?
Got 2 kids.
I mean, you can't leave one behind.
You could. There's fire stations. My bad.
Not the Harry Potter treatment.
Ashley's face.
I mean, yes, like, please do that if you feel like you're not equipped to be a parent. But my lord, I hope it doesn't have to get to that point.
True. All right, so I got.
God damn.
So all of this, and I know we've been chopping up for a minute.
Yeah, we have.
So all of this made me think of Deion Sanders getting a lot of backlash when he's talking about the type of character traits and character types he looks for in certain positions on the football field. Have you seen this? Damn, I wish you'd had. Okay. So he was basically saying, he's like, yo, when it comes to quarterbacks, loving households, 4.0 GPAs, from the suburbs, both parents there, whatever. When it comes to offensive linemen, you know, smart. I forgot other character traits, but he said when it comes to D linemen, single household, like grew up with their mom, literally just like, you know, could barely afford to go to school, just really just trying to get it. And he got a lot of backlash because, yo, it's so unfortunate that like you view these things when picking people, blah, blah, blah. But I think
it's very realistic.
I think it's so realistic because there's certain people who just have that dog in them because of like what they went through.
Yeah, they have that grit. They know how to fight.
Obviously, a movie and the depiction might not be 100% accurate, but look at The Blind Side.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Like, and I'll just refer to the movie, not even like the real life situation, because I don't know the real life situation.
Mm-hmm.
But The Blind Side is you're practicing, you're protecting someone's back, right? And because of his upbringing, he was a very nurturing and always felt like he had to protect people. That transferred to the field.
Yeah. Is that similar for soccer? Because I know it's not like, I mean, it's physical, but it's just not like the same type. It's just not the same mindset. Like, do strikers?
I can't say, because I like to sit here and think of like
common denominators.
Yeah, right now would take time. But one thing I will say in regards to sports is like one trait that you pick up is like one of those things like work ethic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, you can't teach work ethic. But where you can get it from, where'd you get it from?
I don't know if you can teach work ethic, but you can establish that culture. Like Nick Saban.
No, right. But that's what I'm saying.
But
like,
isn't establishing the culture a form of teaching?
Yes.
Like it's indirectly teaching
because
if they're if they're just observing, like,
it's one of those things like
do.
Kobe, right? Mamba mentality. Like the Kobe thing is like, no, listen, if you're gonna play on my team, there's a certain
right. No, go ahead.
Oh no, there's a certain standard I have. I'm not passing you the ball if I see you showing up to practice late. If I see you half-assing it, it's like, no, like I've worked hard enough to take this shot in crucial positions,
right?
So I'm gonna take it. He had trust in people, and same with Michael Jordan is like, nah, I know in practice, like when I went at him, he went back at me. Like they had that grit inside of them.
And part of, because you're not going to be able to fit in a culture that does not fit your lifestyle, right? So part of that dog culture, that work ethic, that protective thing, that comes from your parents, that comes from your upbringing.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? To tie it all together to like childhood and trauma and yada yada yada. Like I could sit here and say, as a kid, my mom didn't always go to my soccer games, but she worked Monday through Friday and then was like running her own business on the weekends.
Oh, wow.
You get what I'm saying? Like my dad was a martial arts instructor instill discipline in us at a young age. Like, no, there were three main principles, but I forgot the third one was discipline, respect, and I forgot the third one.
No fear.
It might have been, but you know what I mean? But it was like discipline and respect are two things that, like, especially on the field, that's like, nah, bro, we're going to get it. You know what I mean? And those things allow me to dive into certain cultures and are part of who I am today in a positive way. You know what I mean? Like, trauma sounds negative, and maybe like it always is, but there's things part of your childhood that form you today that aren't always bad. You know?
Yeah, that's why I struggle saying anything is good or bad. It's more so just like, it's just life, and how you respond to it and what you've learned from it is really on you.
Word. Well, shit, we've been chopping it up a little over an hour now. This was fun. It took us 2 hours to get here.
Not you telling
Episode
them our business.
They don't gotta know.
They do know.
They know now.
They don't gotta know.
Nah, but we did a thing today. This was a good episode.
It's always a good episode when Ashley got her kneecaps out.
Ooh, don't touch square. What was it? The doo-doo square?
At least my knees are out, so y'all not.
At least they're
about
lotioned. At
First
least
of
Lathered,
all-
well moisturized.
First of all,
slow wine.
don't come for me.
Not in the
Don't
doo-doo
try to
square.
come for me.
Don't touch
touch
me,
the
baby.
doo-doo
You
square.
know what? I take back my example of us being married and having kids.
Not you killing our children,
I didn't kill him. It just
You
never
just-
happened.
but it already happened.
It didn't. It's been
You are
retract that.
no longer the baby daddy. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That's
Fast
crazy.
wine. Well, shit, y'all know how we boogie down. Let's
I don't even know you.
You done had 2 kids with him.
Did
and then
I?
killed him.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't even
What was
know
that
this
lady
man.
from Florida?
I'm so sorry, but I don't even know this man.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know how we got here.
Disgrace.
Woman from Florida, Casey Anthony.
Who did?
Oh no, she was cold.
Was it Ari Lennox?
Not Ariana Grande.
Bro, Ari Lennox.
I know he was about to say Ariana Grande.
Ariana Lennox. No, I knew the Lennox part.
Ari Lennox.
Bro, she just posted some heat on Instagram.
All
All right, let's close, bruh. These motherfuckers don't want to hear us talk for 3 hours.
This is true. All right, Ash. 15 seconds of fame. Sade. Well, please hold, because I was just gonna compliment how nice your sweater is and how that mustard really brings out the lightness in your cheeks. But
Wow. Thanks. Yeah, no, it definitely it wasn't the color that I originally picked, but it has grown on me. Yeah, y'all, stay tuned for some merch. Our merch about to be tough. But
TUFF.
yeah, tough. But my 15 seconds of fame is I'm really gonna speak about the forgiveness part. Like, learn to forgive yourself every day and don't be so hard on yourself. Every day is a learning lesson to improve. And continue being a bad bitch always.
Yeah, I woke up a bad bitch today.
Period.
I woke up like this.
Love that for
Flawless.
you.
I may not go to bed a bad bitch, but I woke up like that. Nah, dope. So my 15 seconds of fame is stop gatekeeping information that you know will help your friends and family grow just because you think it's better off left in your head. It's not.
Wow. At whoever that was to.
The world could.
True.
First and foremost, thank you guys. Ash, I just need you guys to know, participated, contributed, and took notes in this episode. So
Bruh, she does a lot.
multi-talented. She also had 2 phone conversations earlier at the same damn time.
Yeah, you know, multitasking, baby.
Yeah, man. Secondly, thank you to the Creative Campus, brought to you by Court Vision, for allowing us to call this home, for being here. Beautiful place. Hopefully you guys can come check it out in the near future.
Exclusive.
Exclusivity.
My 15 seconds of fame is stop fearing the unknown. Success could be on the other side of what you're hiding from. And with all that being said, this is the best fucking podcast in C Team. We're here to take over because you ain't us and you can't be us even if you tried. And that's a wrap.
That was the wrong ending.
Woo!
Twas better.
Not that was better.
Dama.